Hi everybody, welcome back to Mr. Y Reads. This is Mr. Y, and as promised, we will be continuing with Phoenix. Last time we were reading Bixa and Lucky and the rest of the gang were stuck in the ice caves. They've been chained up with electro cuffs, and Bixa had formulated a plan to escape, despite everybody telling her not to. Chapter 33. Bix's needles bristled from her hair again, defiant, proud, unbeaten and unbowed. Okay, she said, first thing we've got to do is lose these electro cuffs. So Lucky, if you could just pass me the purple needles from my hair, that'd be a nice start. Okay, but... See that vidcam up there? She pointed at it, whirring on the ceiling, way out of reach. I've been counting. It's on a 15-second rotation. We're wasting time talking. Very soon, it'll be back on us, and they'll see my needles, and that'll be the end of this escape. She was right. The vidcam was already swinging back towards them. Lucky could see the purple needle glowing in Bix's nest of hair, but his own hands were bound in electro cuffs too. How, Bixa? I can't reach it. Use your teeth, she urged. Use anything. Just do it. The vidcam was coming. He leaned in close to Bixa and brought his mouth next to her glinting needles. He hesitated there. He'd seen how powerful they could be and wasn't sure he wanted one in his mouth. 10 seconds to go, snapped Bixa. 9, 8, 7. It was now or never. Lucky opened his mouth, took the purple needle between his teeth and pulled very, very carefully. The needle vibrated a little, but the sensation wasn't unpleasant. It eased out of her hair, 1 inch, 2 inches, but there was more, still more. The shaft was longer than he'd imagined, so he kept pulling, as gently as he could, until finally it came all the way out. Whew. He looked at her, the purple needle between his teeth. There could only be 5 seconds left. 4, 3. Give it to me, said Bixa. She opened her palm, he dropped the needle in, and her fingers closed round it. She flipped it over so its tip was pointing at the electro cuff, and at once it began to glow a deep violet colour. There was a buzz, the sound of something electrical crackling, and Bixa wriggled free of the cuffs. She turned to the vidcam, which was now less than a second away, and unleashed another needle. It arced towards the vidcam and hit its electronic eye dead centre, shattering it just in time. My goodness, exclaimed Major Dashwood. There was hope on his face now. He stood straighter and taller. That was quite remarkable. That was the easy part, said Bixa. She was already busy freeing Lucky and her family. Now the real problems begin. She went up to the door and examined it. This is solid steel. Must be a foot thick, at least. There are deadbolts. Here, here, and here. Her face fell. I don't think I can take this out. The Major joined her by the door. Everything has a weakness, he said. He ran his fingers over the icy rock face by the edge of the door. Aha, see here. Meltwater has been dripping down this wall. It's been doing it for countless years, melting and dripping and freezing again. And in all that time, I do believe it has eroded the rock. Just a little. It's weakened it, do you see? Bixa looked closely at where he was pointing, right by the edge of the door, where it met the wall. There was the tiniest crack there, almost invisible, but for the droplets of water dripping down it. If you hit that spot with sufficient explosive force, suggested Major Dashwood, I think you may just be able to do it. Okay, I'm going to try, said Bixa. Stand back, everyone. There are sentries outside that door. They're AXA army troopers and they're armed to the teeth. She hesitated on the threshold. We have to take out every single one of them, straight away. If we don't, we're finished. Right here. But we will, said Major Dashwood. He rolled up his tattered sleeves. Have no fear, young lady. You are not alone. Bixa looked at the door with grim determination and shaped up to fight. Beside her, Lucky brought to mind everything he'd learned from her about astral martial arts. Ready? said Bixa, checking they were all in position. Then she leaned away and fired a needle at the edge of the door where Major Dashwood had found the crack. Shablam! There was a huge explosion. Hot metal flew through the air. Emergency lights on the ceiling started to flash. Alarms began to howl. Bixa kicked down what remained of the door. There were troopers on the other side. 5 huge AXA troopers with cannon in their hands. They were off balance from the explosion, but recovering fast. They raised their cannon, aimed, and Bixa was upon them. They were so much bigger than her, yet she took on 2 of them, all on her own, fists smashing out, hooves kicking with perfect precision. Major Dashwood fell upon 2 more, wrestling them under the flashing lights. Lucky charged at the last trooper, head down, hoping to take him by surprise. But the man was much stronger than him. He turned Lucky aside and slammed him into the wall. Oof! Lucky sank to the floor. He looked up to see the trooper aiming his cannon, squeezing the trigger. A shot went off, but not before Major Dashwood had somehow got between them. Hollering a blood-curdling war cry, he seized the trooper by the collar and launched his own head forward. Their skulls connected with a sickening crack, and then the trooper was on the floor, unconscious. Dashwood had felled him with a single massive headbutt. Ares the Ram! He roared in triumph as he helped Lucky up. Your mother taught me that one. Behind him lay the first 2 troopers he'd fought. He knocked them both out too. Meanwhile, Bixa had dispatched the other 2. Confidence flooded into her. She seemed to grow in stature. We did it, she said. We beat 5 of them. They're just people like anyone else. That's right, said Major Dashwood. And you are an extraordinary warrior. Perhaps the best I've ever seen. You can do this. You really... He groaned with pain and doubled up, clutching his side with both hands. Bixa frowned at him. The flashing red lights cast dark shadows all around. You okay, Shadow Guard? She asked. The Major shook his head. A thin stream of blood began to trickle out from between his fingers. Lucky's insides felt raw as he saw it. What happened to him? Said Bixa. He saved me, said Lucky. He took the shot. Major Dashwood straightened up, a grim look in his eyes. No one has saved anyone yet, I'm afraid. He glanced at the howling alarms. That explosion hasn't gone unnoticed. There'll be more of them coming, any moment. He hefted one of the sentry's cannons in his hand, and his jaw set with determination. I'll make sure they don't catch you. You must get to the king. Persuade him to make peace. It's the only hope. But you've got to come with us, said Lucky. We need you. No, you didn't before. And you don't now. Dashwood touched his side again. His fingers came away wet. I can't go any farther. But I can keep you covered and buy you a little time. He's right, said Bixa. Come on, we have to get out of here. She scooped up the cannon the troopers had dropped. She kept 2 for herself and tossed a 3rd at Lucky. He caught it awkwardly, almost discharging it by mistake. But I don't know how to use this, he protested. I don't want you to use it, said Bixa. Just carry it for me till I need it. She crept round the corner to check that the way forward was clear. Lucky followed her uncertainly into the dim red corridor. He glanced back over his shoulder, and as he met his eyes, Major Dashwood smiled at him for the first and last and only time. It was the same smile Lucky had grown up looking at, the smile in the vidpic, a protective smile, so warm, so full of love. It always made him feel better to see it. His throat tightened at the sight. He knew the Major was not his father, but at that moment, how he wished he was. He'd done more than Lucky had ever dreamed to dream a father might. But there was no time to say any of this, no time to thank him, no time even to say goodbye, because already they could hear more troopers coming to get them. For your mother's sake, urged the Major, get out of here, Lucky. Go! And that brings us to the end of chapter 33. Quite full of drama, quite fast moving, that chapter. Be really interested to know what you think about that one. Leave it down in the comments, your impressions of that chapter and where you think it may be going. Okay, thank you very much. I've been Mr. Y. This has been Mr. Y Reads. I hope you've enjoyed it. Stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.